we are over halfway now in our 12 days of Christmas, and I hope you're finding these videos helpful. They're just little nuggets of just information that will help you in your yoga practice, and they may not seem like a big thing, but they will definitely accelerate your practice and make a big difference. So today we're going to look at balancing. Now, balancing really does depend on what you've done that day or maybe even the day before. So if you've gone for a run and then you come to one of my classes and we're doing a lot of tree poses, a lot of warrior three, then your legs will probably feel a little bit tighter, your muscles may be a little bit fatigued, so then it will be difficult to balance. It's just one of those things. And another thing to remember about balancing, it's meant to be fun. The more you get het up, the more you get worked up and frustrated, the fact that you keep falling out of the poses, or maybe you know that you can do it and today it's just not happening. That's where you need to learn the art of letting go, because the more frustrated you get, the harder it will be for you to balance. Now, one of the things, we're going to use tree pose as an example here. One of the reasons why people can't balance sometimes is because they're distracted. They're finding it really difficult to clear their mind, maybe to switch off from what's happened before they stepped on the yoga mat. So one really good thing to do is to use either a water bottle or a yoga mat, and you're just going to place it towards the top of the mat. And that's going to be your drishti, or your focus point. So you're going to come into, say, tree pose, and you're going to keep an eye on that bottle. And I say this in my class, you want to use your hands to press together. Now, the reason why we're doing that is to make the body aware of where the center line of the body is. When we're pressing into that center line, it helps us find our center of gravity. And it's just not a hard fix on that item. It's going to be a soft gaze that if you were to lift your eyes up and then look back down, that you would be able to still hold your balance. And then once you're in position, if you're wobbling and you find it quite difficult, and you're pressing your hands together, you're pressing that foot to the leg and you're still finding it difficult to balance, what I want you to then start doing is thinking about your inhale and your exhale. So just try and switch off from what your body's doing, from what the pose might look like, and start thinking about your breath. Try and use that to allow the body to relax a little bit. And use that as a distraction, so your body's not trying to think about what it needs to do to be in this position. Now, another thing, if we talk about tree pose, is people feel that they need to have that leg as high as they possibly can in order to do the pose. It really doesn't matter. If your foot is still on the ground but in the inside of the ankle, you can still work on that balance of pressing the foot into the leg, hands into the foot, focus on that drishti point, and just use your body, your breath, to relax the body. So distraction is one way that makes it a little bit difficult for us to balance. Another thing that can really affect our balance is our feet. So we have blind spots in the body. So these are areas that are holding a little bit of tension that we might not even be aware of. So the brain's kind of forgot that they're even there. And the feet is one of those areas. The feet can tend to hold a lot of tension that we're not aware of, and it can cause a lot of instability in the ankles. Now, the ankles are key for when we're trying to balance, as well as the sole of the foot. So, you've guessed it, one of the best ways to activate the feet, to switch them on, is to come into a little bit of trigger point rolling. So you're going to grab yourself either a golf ball or maybe a lacrosse ball. If you don't have a ball, you can always use a dowel. So maybe like a broomstick, or if you do have a roller, you could use that. The reason why this is so good is because what we're doing is we're applying pressure and sustaining that pressure to a trigger point, so to an area that's holding tightness. This helps some muscles to relax, and in order for those muscles to, after allowing the muscles to relax, we're getting the fibers to release and unknot. So if there was any tension or any points that have kind of got themselves knotted up, this is going to help release those areas. So you're just going to place the ball underneath your foot, and it's best off to be standing whilst doing this, because then you can really drive some weight through into that ball. We're going to work slowly across the sole of the foot. So start maybe at the back of the foot, and really press down. So you want to try and find it about 7 or 8 on a discomfort level, and you've got to use your breath to help the muscles to relax. And we're just slowly going to work our way up the foot. Maybe even start pointing the toes up and down, just notice any difference, any tightness. Maybe that tightness feels like it's traveling up the leg. Maybe it doesn't make any difference at all. But you want to be able to do this for about 30 to 60 seconds on each side, pressing through into that ball. And then you've got to switch. So your superficial back line is pretty much all the muscles that make up the back of the body. And these muscles work together. However, if one of these muscles aren't firing up properly, or maybe there's a little bit of tightness in the muscles, it can have a knock-on effect. So tightness in the foot and the ankle can actually then affect your calves and your hamstrings. So not only will the instability in your foot affect your balancing, but so will that tightness in the hamstrings and the calves. So this is a really good way of just firing up that whole chain. Just notice the difference from one side to the other side. So tension in the foot is one thing that can affect your balancing. Another thing that can affect your balance is ankle stability. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab yourself a cushion, like so. And all we're going to do is we're just going to balance on it with one foot. So the opposite foot doesn't need to be very high off the floor. But all we're doing here is building up the stability in our ankle. So you might notice that your ankle is switching from side to side, and that's a good thing. That's muscle memory trying to fire up the muscles, trying to get them to remember what they need to do in order to hold you in this position. And you're just going to switch from one foot to the other. Another thing you could do is maybe close your eyes and just see how that goes. And remember, if you fall out of the pose, it really doesn't matter. So I appreciate not many people have a lot of props at home, but if you do have one of these things, I think they're called a wobble board, you can always give these a go. This is a really good way and a good step up from that pillow because it's so unstable. And your leg muscles and your ankle really have to work here in order to keep you nice and stable. So let's just recap things that might affect your balance. We've got distraction because of a busy mind, or maybe you are just looking at something else that you shouldn't. So try focusing on something 4 or 5 foot in front of you and see how that helps your balance. Another thing is working on any tension points on your feet. So you've got that trigger point massage that I've just shown you, and then also ankle stability. If you try and work on all 3 of those areas, you should be able to really increase your balance, perfect that perfect tree pose. But remember, at the end of the day, we're all human. We have off days, we have good days. So maybe come into tree pose and then try a few of these, see if it makes any difference, come back into that tree pose, let me know how you get on and if it does make any changes.